Now, 6 News Sports.
With Trent Hickson's career complete, the Huskers are looking for a center, and they might have their answer. Ben Scott is transferring in from Arizona State, where he played multiple positions on the line, including center. He started 3 seasons for the Sun Devils, also from the same hometown as Huskers offensive line coach Donovan Raiola. That would be Honolulu. Here's Matt Rule on the decision to keep Donovan.
I kind of liked his vibe, and I liked his energy, but most importantly to me, he had been trained in the same system that I'm trained in, and I want us to play that way.
Former Huskers defensive coordinator Erik Chinander is headed to Boise State. Erik will coach the defensive line and be the defensive run game coordinator. In 2021, he led a Nebraska defense that was top 40 nationally in points allowed, best performance by the program in more than a decade. He also has experience in that part of the country, coaching a handful of seasons at Oregon.